Hey, what is up everybody, Blades for here, and today I have for you guys another video of Persona 5X. Inside today's video, guys, we're going to be going over Closer, the Blessed DPS summer variant here, and exactly how you build her. Now inside the video, as usual, we're going to be going over the usual stuff, going from priority skills, what exactly are her best weapons, which we all know are already her real best ones, of course, her card set and things of that nature. So if you guys are interested in this, be sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. We are finally back as well. That was something that we were a little bit gone for a little while, but we're now back, ready to freaking have some fun and just enjoy our time here. So without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, so go ahead and taking a look at Closer and her awareness dupes here. It's going to be a little bit different because of course the translator is broken, so I'm going to be saying a lot of this stuff to you guys first, and then I'll flash the actual awarenesses and stuff like that with one of the guys that Najox has, so you guys can actually understand exactly how this character does work. But this character, should you do, I feel like in general, of course, go for the A1 with this unit. I'm personally just going to be trying to save because we already know what's coming down the road is going to be Futaba and them later on, and I need as much currency as possible. But going over what this character actually does do, her A0, or at least her regular passive that we do have here, is whenever she actually receives healing or anything like that, if it does go over a certain amount, which if I'm right should be 15% of max HP, she's able to then reduce one of the cooldowns of her moves, which is going to be reduced by one whole turn. This in general is already really good because seeing that she just has to go over that 15% maximum HP amount, she is already going to be reducing the HP, which of course if you're using Marion or a healer on your team in general, doing this should be rather easy. Now if you do consume HP, don't worry, you don't have to worry about dying because she will not actually kill herself thanks to this passive, which is already good. Now one of the other things that we have to at least take a look at here is the A1. Now A1 is pretty darn good for this character, and it does have me thinking about going back into the banner to get it. And the reason is because for the A1, which is called Wave Kissing Toes, she's able to reduce one of her cooldowns, which is Rave Chaser, by one whole turn. Wave Chaser is also reduced in the A0, so this is going to be a recurring theme with this character, but she's able to reduce it by one whole turn. And if you do get into one of the states that she has, which is True Summer and Midsummer, Midsummer, if I'm right, is the weaker variant of True Summer here, she is actually able to increase her crit rate by 10% and her crit damage by 25%. All in all, this is actually a really good A1, and surprises me a lot because a lot of you guys have already heard my opinion on Tomoko, and I feel like her A1 is a little bit lackluster, but compared to Closer, it's really good. Her A1's actually pretty darn decent, and if you did want to go back to the banner for it, I feel like you guys would actually enjoy doing so. Now going into the A3, seeing that A2 is absolutely useless really and just upgrades, A3 here is actually when she gets healed, her crit damage is now increased by 20% for 2 whole turns. This also can actually be stacked twice, so she's able to actually get up a whole 40% of crit damage for 2 whole turns, which is really nice to actually have if you guys went for A3. The A5, of course, increasing the highlight, which we don't really have to go over, but the A6 is where things really get big. This one's called Hand Holding Summer Stroll here, and when she is actually in Midsummer and True Summer, no matter what, she's enhancing her skills, because the reasoning being, now Midsummer and True Summer, or at least Midsummer, is now officially only upgraded to True Summer. So there's no longer any two things of just what's it called, two things of what she can be in. She's no longer either in Midsummer or True Summer. She's at all times going to be in True Summer state, and this enhances all of her skills. Pretty much when she uses Summer Cool Magic, she has additional damage that can trigger twice. Her Wave Chaser now can increase skill multipliers by 35%, and then her Leisurely Vacation can actually restore 20% of max HP. This is a huge jump for an A6. It's actually kind of insane, and if meta was a real huge thing in this game, this would be something you would crazy go for, because I'm not gonna lie, it's actually really nice to have that, and in general I feel like it's good to keep on purpose for this character. If you actually wanted to go back into the banner for A1, I would highly recommend it, though of course do keep in mind the things that we do have coming up next. I feel like A1 is a good place that people can really stop. Other than that, just either go for the A6 or either don't go at all. But anyways, character's pretty darn decent. A lot of you guys definitely will enjoy this character, but that's just should you dupe her. The next things that we need to actually go ahead and go over is the skill priority and which skills we got to do first. But before, of course, we go into that little mode, you guys should see on the screen the actual skills. Be sure to pause the video here if you actually want to read said skills here. Thank you once again for Najox for having these guys and actually translating all of this. But let's go ahead and get into the next part. All right, so now that we're going to take a look into the skills and which one you should prioritize here, you guys already see I have most of her skills actually maxed out. Did that as fast as freaking possible. And after testing a little bit with this character and actually knowing what she does, I can hands down say that you want to get up her skill 3 immediately. Her skill 3 is actually amazing, and this is going to help you mainly do a lot of your things here. Remember when we were talking about Wave Chaser? That's exactly what this is here, and this is going to help you get into those states that will deal majority of your better damage here. Pretty much what this does is when you're in a midsummer state, or you enter the midsummer state here until the next turn, she's able to consume 15% of her HP and deal a huge whopping 146.4% amount of blessed damage to all, at least all enemies, almost said allies, but all enemies in general. Alongside with this, she's actually able to get a crit rate increase that can go to 9.8%, and her damage bonus is also increased by 29.3%. This in general is the main thing you want to go for, because in her kit, her entire kit is going to be revolved around that Wave Chaser mode. Having this whole midnight, at least midsummer state, is already going to be amazing. This is something that's controlling everything that she's able to do here, and so this is going to be the main, at least stat, or at least the main skill you guys want to prioritize first. The next thing that you guys want to try to go for is going to be the skill 1. The skill 1 also kind of helps out in the midsummer and true summer type states here, but what it ends up doing is once you have it fully maxed like I do here, 87.8% blessed damage is at least done to all enemies. With this in mind, of course, she does consume a little bit of her HP, which is a 10% amount here, and this actually does an additional instance of damage, which is going to be 29.3% of blessed damage to all enemies. This is really good to do, of course, once you are in the summer state. This is how she gets way better. Once, of course, you get into this state, you're going to start dealing a lot more damage, of course, and this is only going to last to at least a whole turn. So you want to make use of this state the second you get into it. So this will be the main thing that you want to use immediately next. Then, of course, as usual, the last skill that you want to get up is going to be the skill 2 before, of course, we do the combat skill here. At least the skill 2 is pretty decent, or leisurely vacation is pretty decent. Does 136% damage in general, while also giving you some HP back, which is going to be, I think, around 20%, as we can see right here. This is really, really good, though it is a little bit lackluster compared to the other 2 skills. Now, also, this is also a single target thing, and seeing that Motaha really does good in the AoE aspects, you're going to utilize this a little bit less. Now, when you are inside the midsummer or true summer state here, she will actually deal another instance of damage, which is 34.2%, and that's pretty decent to the main target. So that's pretty nice and all, but once again, she's an AoE DPS. Using single targets are not going to be her main deal. We're mainly going to be trying to use her as much as possible for that AoE damage, racking up as much damage as possible. All in all, pretty darn decent. Her combat skill is what you want to go ahead and get up less, because this, or at least the last second, because this is mainly going to pertain to the highlights in general like that. Once, of course, you get this maxed out, mine's currently at 6. I have a 168%. This goes up to a max of 195% blessed damage to all enemies, while healing a whopping 20 HP, which is pretty decent. 20 HP always is always there. That's nothing going to be changing. And anything above 50% will actually get a 25% damage increase. Now, this is only for, of course, her highlight skills. So once again, it's the last thing you want to do in order of the at least prioritizing things: skill 3, skill 1, skill 2, and then the actual combat skills. That is what you guys really want to pay attention to for this in general. But now that we talked about all of this stuff, let's go ahead and look at her best weapons here. Okay, so taking a look at her best weapon, immediately you guys already know how this is gonna go. It's gonna be the 5-star weapon. But Blade, what about the other 5-star weapon from the other closer? I'm gonna be honest with you guys, they have the weapons made into a certain way that the variants are going to need their variant weapons. This comes down to at least the 4-stars as well. So if you do have the 4-star variant weapon, be sure to use it on Mota. This is going to be the one that you really want to use for her if you're not going to go for the 5-star. The main reason for this is because the 4-star actually isn't that bad. Go ahead and use the said 4-star here. You're getting an attack increase by 12%, going to a full amount of 24% once you have it actually fully duped. It also increases damage by 7.6%, going to a whopping 14.5% when it comes down to at least healing in the midsummer or true summer state. Now this is only for 2 whole turns, and it can actually stack, so you can get this multiple times. All good, pretty decent there. If you want to use this on here, it's mainly kind of like a stat stick type of deal, in which, yeah, sure, you could use it. I would not advise it. It's not really good for her whatsoever, and it does not contribute to her entire kit. So mainly try to get this 4-star weapon. That is what you want to get. But on the off chance that you get her 5-star weapon, her 5-star weapon is actually really good for her. I'm surprised that it doesn't make it a must summon 5-star. You can deal with the 4-star, but having the 5-star does add a lot of benefits to it. One, of course, we get the higher scaling on damage. Instead of it being a 12 or 24% for just a regular attack, we get an increase of 24.2% of blessed damage, and if you're a whale, 46.1%. And inside of midsummer or true summer state, her crit damage is actually increased by 26.0%, going to a whopping 50% at least crit damage if you do have this duped. Now, you do gain 2 sunlight, which is all part of her whole kit, so having that sunlight there is already making this weapon really, really good in general. But when you consume a sunlight here, or a sunlight stat, whether it's using skills or a highlight, you're actually able to increase your damage a whopping 34%. So you're already getting the nice old buffs and stuff like that, right? That's what we already love. But just by getting this weapon, you're getting yourself a huge increase in damage and a major increase into just anything revolving her kit by getting these sunlight stacks. So of course, having the 5-star weapon is the most optimal thing for this. I'll be honest with you, if you're going for any of these characters that are actually the what's it called, summer characters or things like that, you might as well pick up the weapon if you're summoning for them. Unless the weapon is utterly crazy, I would advise you getting the weapon because it does help out quite a lot. But once again, if you have a 4-star and you manage to get it fully duped up, it could be a little bit more worth when it comes down to this. But without further ado, that's what those weapons did. Let's go ahead and take a look in her card set. All right, so now that we went over everything here, we're going to be going over the card set. Now the card set is something I'm still particularly building here, and it's been kind of a little weird trying to figure it out, but I've slowly done it and figured out some of the actual what's it called, some of the symbols to know exactly what you guys want. So first things first, what we're going to be paying attention to is the actual card set and what you guys want to use. You want to use the new Bless set here, and the main reasoning for this is because, of course, it increases Bless. This is what you really want to go ahead and actually pay attention to. It's going to be her main thing that you guys want to look at. The other card, which is going to be named the Arcane card here, this one is really, really good in general. It's going to help out a lot of your blessed damage a lot. It's called at least Determination, and this is going to also help you in general when it comes down to really doing that beefy amount of damage that we do need, getting up our HP and things like that to really take advantage over Closer's damage here. So having these two together is already a match made in heaven, making this absolutely amazing. But what are the main stats that a lot of us want to go for? Well, as usual, the main actual sun is always going to be HP. As for the moon, if you guys see this symbol here, I started looking at the symbols to figure out exactly how to flip these things work. But if you do see a symbol like this, you want to go ahead and get damage boost on here. You can very well use like attack, or you could use HP here, though I would highly advise you guys to use a damage boost piece immediately being here, which looks like that symbol right there. Damage boost is going to help out her kit quite a lot. She does need a little bit of this as well. It's going to make your numbers look way higher. Now, when it comes down to the actual star here, you want to go with crit rate. I currently have a crit rate 1 on. How you know it's crit rate is because it is the fully fledged in lightning bolt here. You could use crit damage, So if you're going to use a crit damage one, you need to have crit rate on your substats at all freaking times. And I mean, every last one of your things got to have crit rate, and they have to be upped. Crit rate is going to be really useful on this character, seeing that she already builds a decent bit of crit damage as well. Sure, you want a lot of crit damage on her, but replacing the star piece with crit damage is not as helpful when you can just have the crit rate piece here and actually deal better by just getting some small like crit damage substats on your pieces in general. So I feel like this is what you guys really want to go for, the star piece. And then for the last one, of course, use attack. Anything other than attack is definitely not necessary. This card is actually really mediocre, so I'm gonna have to freaking replace it eventually, but having at least attack on this is going to really help. Anything other than attack, you guys are going to want to kind of take it out of here. Now, when it does come down to the substats, this is where things get a little bit freaky. I won't actually be able to show you guys the full substats of everything, or at least how you know certain substats here, but what you really want to have for this character at least is going to be crit rate being your main priority, crit damage as the second, damage boost or attack percentage as your third, and then HP as your fourth. HP is kind of the bottom of the barrel, but it does still help out her kit, but mainly you want to try and go for attack or damage bonus. Having either one of those are going to be really helpful for this character, and that's really what you want to look at. Now, for some of you guys who are like, so Blade, how are you figuring out exactly what you do? What I do is test upgrades to actually figure out the symbols. So for example, with this one, I'll just toss, let's do one here. So you can look when you level something up, you can kind of check the sides, and as you can see, that lightning bolt right there means crit rate. Of course, this has crit rate on it. You guys can kind of do this or some way like that to figure out exactly what substats you guys have. I might make a video just going over the logos and what they freaking mean, because in the case that the translator does not get fixed, yeah, a lot of us are gonna need to know the logos. But without further ado, of course, you guys, HP, damage bonus, crit rate, and attack percent is what you want to go for this substat, or at least for this card set here. And I feel like a lot of you guys are really going to enjoy it. But now that we went over at least the card set, let's go over the last and final thing, which is her team comp. So let's go take a look into that. All right, so going over the actual blessed team comp here, we're gonna want a few things. Now, I unfortunately do not have the weapon that she does need. The weapon that she wants to use for at least Wonder is inside of one of the exchange shops. If you guys can get them, you should probably get it for her, especially because a lot of you guys really want to, of course, utilize Wonder to the best of his capabilities. But if you want this weapon, it is this one right here. This is going to be necessary for a lot of blessed users here, and that is what you really want to look at. But when it comes down to her actual team, who do we utilize in said team here? Of course, we gotta throw in Motaha, of course. She's the main person that we need. The next person you guys want to have on the team is going to be Marion. Hopefully, if you have her A1 is going to be really useful. Of course, she's already a blessed character, so there's nothing you really have to go crazy with to know how. But at least if you have A1, you're able to get that extra damage increase if you get an over heal, which is already really good. Seeing that we need to heal anyways with Motaha, as long as Motaha is getting a little bit more healing on this, her whole kit goes better. And what's better than just freaking having Marion at A1, who can then furtherly boost this damage by having her A1 and actually getting that buff as well. The next character that you want to utilize in this team is going to be Cord. This is the main team that you guys are going to be looking at, and usually is going to have Phoebe as the main choice as the navigator, because all this mainly is going to help you out a lot when it comes down to at least more of those buffs that we surely do need, mainly just offensive buffs. This is the team you guys really want to go for. So navigator, of course, Phoebe, Marion, Cord, boom, that's what we want to look at. We got our healing, we got our buffs, we got the straight up damage on top of damage. That is what we're looking for. Now, in the off chance that you don't have Cord, who can you very well use? Well, as much as I'm against this little dude, he actually does a really good in a lot of team as a buffer, and that is going to be Leon. Now, Leo here is really good, actually, surprisingly enough. At first, when we first began, a lot of us were kind of sleeping on the dude, but he's actually really decent. He's able to grant shield, of course, increase a lot of your attack, and also increase your crit damage in this team, which is already helpful. The only downside about him is he's a little bit of a glass cannon, so you need to really keep him highly sustained with some type of card set or something to really make the most use of him. Now do keep in mind, of course, he is a nuke buffer as well, so he's not anything really that goes with bless, so you are gonna be a little iffy. Now on the off chance, let's say you got Cord, you got Leo, right? You got those characters, but you don't have Marion. All reliable is going to be Cattle. Cattle's going to help you out a decent bit because his actual single target heal is really good, and it could push that multiplier to actually being really good for Motaha. So let's say you got freaking Leo, you don't got freaking Cord. This is a team you could use. Oh, you don't got or at least you got Cord. This is the team you can go ahead and use. Now on the off chance that you have Marion, you have Cord, or you have Marion, you have Leo, who's gonna be your navigator? Well, All Reliable Okeon is absolutely amazing because she is an attack navi that is really helpful for actually utilizing a lot of these buffs that freaking closer does need. So any of these team variations is what you want to use for her. The best one is going to be something like this. Instead of course Okeon, you would use Phoebe, but if you don't have Phoebe, Okeon, this is the main team you guys want to go ahead and use. When it does come down to personas for at least Wonder, Dominion is going to be your best friend because Dominion is going to help you get those buffers, or at least the buffs that you do need for this whole team. And I will suggest that a lot of you guys should go as hard as possible to try and make sure you're doing the best for Closer herself. But without further ado, you guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please do smash that like button with your forehead. Consider subscribing if you are new. We do daily uploads of freaking Persona, and yesterday was a whole hard headache, but we did it. So see you guys next time, and peace out.